y'all, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about my picks for the 2020-2021 school year for my soon-to-be 6th grader. Hopefully this will not have too much background noise. I do have a 4-year-old in the room right there, and so if you hear toys clanking or talking, that's what's going on. But you know, mom life. Okay, so we do, if you've seen my other videos, we do follow mostly a Charlotte Mason style of schooling. So we have a lot of books, we got a lot of stuff, but I'm going to try to explain how we're going to use it all as we go. So first, we are using Apologia again for science. We have really enjoyed Apologia. This year we are doing Exploring Creation with Chemistry and Physics. My son is so excited to start this. He is really into science in general, but really into chemistry. And so he is very excited to get to start on this. We do not do, I've mentioned it before, we don't do the journals. We just do independent journaling and narration through it. And then he will do a couple of the projects in here as he finds them interesting. Next, we are also, I mentioned this in our school subjects for this year because we did go ahead and switch over. He is still working on handwriting, a reason for handwriting, the transition. So this is going to move him into cursive. He is a little bit behind. I don't like saying behind with homeschooling. I don't believe there's really such a thing as being behind in homeschooling, but he is needing a little bit extra work with his handwriting to get it, well, he needed a little bit of work to get his handwriting up to a level that I felt comfortable with before switching him into cursive, and so he is working into cursive this year. I'm going to stick with his subjects specifically first. So for his English, again, in our last, we went ahead and started this year. He's going to continue on with the Simply Charlotte Mason Using Language Well and Spelling Wisdom. If you watched my last video for the subjects for this year, I kind of explained it a little bit. So the Using Language Well has the language principles. I'll just show it kind of an example. You have the language principles in this book, and it does coordinate with your Spelling Wisdom book, because this is going to have the transcription or dictation, whichever you're doing, in this book. And they go together. So if you are using Simply Charlotte Mason, you have to have both books. He is still working on book 1, and then this is just the teacher's guide, which you really don't need it. I just kind of wanted to have it. It was cheaper. It was actually cheaper to buy the bundle, so I went ahead and just bought that whole bundle. And he does not write in this book because these books are a little pricey, but they're super, super good quality. So he just writes it out in his own personal journal for that. So math, he is moving back into teaching textbooks this year. So that's an online program. So I don't actually have a physical book, though I do have. So Matthew is, he has severe ADHD, and he is, so I've said this before, I have to get him re-evaluated because he does show a little bit more tendencies toward being more on the autistic spectrum than we originally thought. So he's had some really big struggles with some of his short-term memory as far as learning the addition facts, you know, being able to recall addition facts. So if you were to ask him, you know, what's 9 plus 7, he would have a hard time remembering that without, you know, having to actually write it out. So we are going to try the addition facts that stick. It's a 6-week program, and so they also have subtraction facts that stick, multiplication facts that stick, and division facts that stick. So if we get through this program in 6 weeks and we feel like it is actually helping, I will buy the next book, but I wanted to see how he does with this first before moving on and buying all of the books. He will also probably have some supplemental work that will just depend as he goes. I'll print off supplemental work online if I feel like he's struggling in a specific area, because he does struggle with math. So did I. So geography, we are again just using our little book. I mentioned in my last video that we just use the back. I've actually ripped out, this isn't technically the back, I ripped out a page. We just use the map, we just do the map drills. So my goal for him is to have mastered, he's got about half. Throughout last year, we learned about half of the United States, and so he will learn the rest of his states this year, in addition to doing world geography, which goes with his history lessons. We keep U.S. geography and just geography in general very simple for the early grades, and then we'll move into more as he gets older. But there is actually some more geography involved in his history lessons. So this is all of a history. So we are using Simply Charlotte Mason. So this is my teacher book. So we are using Simply Charlotte Mason this year for history. We are doing Joshua through Malachi and ancient Greece this year. The only thing I don't have here that we will be using is our Bible. It does combine Bible along with, it'll be Old Testament Bible along with history. And so with that, we will work through the main reader that you have for this particular book is The Story of the Greeks. And so this is the book that we will be reading aloud. Though I might have to get a second one because Matt struggles with auditory processing issues. It's actually very common for kids with ADHD to have auditory processing issues. And so with read alouds, he struggles with retention. And so I think I'm going to get a second book so that way he can follow along as he's reading or as I'm reading aloud. And then with that, we also have Hungry Planet, which this is a really cool book. It goes over what the world eats, and it's just really interesting. It shows you different countries. I hope that y'all can see that. It shows you different countries and what people eat around the world. So you have a little bit of culture mixed in with your history lesson. And then we also have Material World, a global family portrait. So this is going to show you how people live. So it shows different, how different people live in different parts of the world. I think this is going to be, Matt's going to really love this. It's really interesting to see. I find it fascinating personally, just to see how other people live. This is going to be the part that's for the geography. This is world geography. It is visits to the Middle East. So he'll be learning all of the countries in the Middle East this year. Woo! And these technically are family subjects, but I mean, my preschooler might sit in on them, but he's not going to be forced to sit down. Also, along with that, this is like my favorite thing that we've gotten so far. I've actually used it in my own personal Bible studies. It's our Deluxe Then and Now Bible Maps. It's really cool though. It has, the layover maps. And so you can see, what it was like then and what it's like now to give you an idea of what you're looking at. And this has been really fun to just visualize, to be able to see. This is the stuff they left behind. I'll actually pull some of them out. These are just pictures. This goes with the history lessons. It shows you just different things, different artifacts and different locations in from that time era. So that's going to be super fun. Okay, so the last thing to go with our history is going to be the Big Picture Bible timeline. It's just a very simple timeline to go with what we're studying. I haven't officially decided how we're going to use this because we don't really have a lot of space to hang up a giant timeline. So we may just use it in the book. I'm not sure. So we'll have to wait and see how that one plays out. So he does have some readers. So those are all the stuff that we're going to do together for history. Independently, he is going to, I'm gonna see if we're gonna add this one in. These go with the Simply Charlotte Mason curriculum. These are the assigned readers, and so he actually has one more. He has Herodotus and The Road to History. That's one of his readers. Our Little Spartan Cousin of Long Ago, and Archimedes and the Door of Science. And so they look very dull, but whenever you actually get into reading them, they're actually extremely interesting. They're written in a narrative format, so that way it's very engaging for the kids. And so all of the books recommendations from Simply Charlotte Mason are always fantastic. This is one that I got independently that I'm not sure if I'm going to have him read now or if I'm going to wait and have him read it over next summer. This is the Children's Homer to go with it. I figured that it would be fun for him to read it, but I'm not sure if it's going to just be a little too much. He is just now getting to a stage with his reading again, with his learning, I don't want to say disabilities, but with his learning delays that he's had. He's really struggled to pick up on reading, and he's just now at a point that he's enjoying reading, and so I don't want to push him too hard because he's also going to I'm going to assign him this one, which is Gladys Aylward, The Adventure of a Lifetime. This is the Christian Heroes Then and Now series, and so I want him to read a biography once a year, and so that's the one he's going to read this year. So I don't want to overload him with too much readers, because in addition to all of this, he is going to have his independent readers, which he's going to have some free choice on those. I'm actually not going to get involved in, with the exception of making sure they're appropriate, I'm not going to get really involved in which books he is wanting to read, because I'm just trying to encourage him to read and to enjoy reading. I think that's all of his independent subjects that he has. So the things that we're going to do together, actually, I don't know if you would consider this a family subject. We did get, my dad knew that I told him that I wanted these, and he bought me the entire series, and I'm so excited. So this is going to be our social studies. This is the Tuttle Twins series. I've seen them around a lot, and they just looked very interesting. And so I really want to start working with my children, especially as they're entering into middle school kind of age, to understand, good citizenship and what it means to live in this country. If you don't know about the Tuttle Twins, it talks about, the importance of living in a free society, free market. This one's The Law, The Miraculous Pencil. This one is based on the classic essay I Pencil by Leonard Read. Your children will learn about the economic principles of spontaneous order, division of labor, competition, trade, and the free market, and why these things bring the people of the world together in peaceful cooperation. This one is the Tuttle Twins and the Creature from Jekyll Island. And this one says, in honor of the classic The Creature from Jekyll Island by G. Edward Griffin. This book introduces children to the history and nature of money, banking, inflation, savings, and bartering in an informative and entertaining format that both educates and excites its young readers. So my goal is to get through at least the first 3 books, though we may try to get through more, but that kind of gives you an idea of what these books are about. And so we may try to get through more than just 3, but I'm trying to not set too high of standards for myself right now, because we are having a new baby in September. So, okay, so the next thing that we're going to be working on is our habit training. We are going to use, I don't have my big book, there's a 3rd book that goes with this. And so we're going to be using Laying Down the Rails by Simply Charlotte Mason. And so we will be working on, I think you're supposed to do a new habit every 6 weeks. And so I think we'll get through 3 to 4 habits this year. And I haven't officially decided what our habits are. And we will probably actually not get through as many because, again, dealing with kids who have learning delays, you have to have more patience with them with learning new habits, because it takes a little bit longer to instill those good habits in them. So we are going to start habit training this year. I know for sure we want to work on attention and obedience. And so those are going to be where we first start. Okay, so the next are our enrichment studies. I'm actually missing, I still have to print off our poetry study. We are going to be doing, I think we're going to do Emily Dickinson, and I have to order the PDF and print that off from Simply Charlotte Mason. And then our composer study, I haven't officially decided how we're going to do that or who exactly we're going to do. But we will probably stick to just one composer per semester, and because we're also going to be working on hymn studies in addition to that, and I just don't want to overload my kids with too much stuff. I know our first hymn that we're going to be working on is Amazing Grace, but I don't have a full plan for all of the hymns we're going to work on and the composer we're going to work on this year. So we are doing nature studies, and so we are going to use the Nature Anatomy book. Just a heads up for anybody who is a Christian homeschooler, this is a secular book, and there is a little bit of evolutionary talk in there, and so I'm not going to not use it because of the fact that there's not so much of the evolutionary rhetoric in this book completely that I feel like I need to disregard it. I do believe in incorporating some secular things into our schooling so that my kids can understand the viewpoint of other people, and I can explain to them why we don't agree with that and why that doesn't match up with what the Bible says, and fully equip them for whenever they're going to go out into the world, because eventually they're going to go out into the world and they're going to see what other people think, and I want them to understand why it is that we believe this way. All of that to say, it is a very good book though. If you can disregard, there was one place that I scratched out, and then I'm going to use the rest of them for talking points. But it is a very good book. It talks about different trees and different bark, and like you have mushrooms. There's like life cycles of a butterfly, animals in the neighborhood. So it's a very good book. You just have to get past some of the, So our handiwork this year, I decided to do a handiwork that's not technically handiwork, but I thought it would be fun. And it's our first year doing full-on Charlotte Mason, so why not? So we are going to do origami. And so I actually have another origami book, but it is more advanced. And so I ordered origami for kids, and then we have our origami paper. And so we're going to learn origami because it just sounded like it would be a whole lot of fun. And I figured something easy and light and fun would be a good way to get us started into our handiworks. And then the last thing that I have, because I'm not going to go into all of our read alouds that we're going to be doing this year. The last thing I have is our art book. I'm still not 100% sure how I want to use this. So this is the A Child's Introduction to Art. So with the Simply Charlotte Mason plan, you're supposed to study one artist per semester, I think, or per term. I'm not sure. But you are supposed to study one specific artist. And this is a little different because it shows different, it's got actual text, and it does show artwork, but it has the actual text. And so I've thought about picking one of these artists and then getting out my tablet and going through some of their artwork over a couple of weeks, and then maybe doing a different artist every 3 to 6 weeks. And using this book to understand who they are and a little bit about their life. So we're going to see how that goes, and I think at the end of the year I'll just update y'all on how we end up deciding to use this book and how we end up doing our art studies. And I think that is it. The only other thing would be our morning basket, but I think I'm going to save that. This video is already so long. I think I'm going to save that for another time, maybe whenever I do how we're doing preschool this year. I'll maybe include it in there. Okay, Yep, but that is it. That is everything that we are doing this year for 6th grade. I am really excited to get started on it. I think it's going to be a really fun year. So if you have any questions about any of the curriculum that I have shown here, please leave it in the comments. If you want to see anything more in depth, or if you want me to do a flip through of any specific book or curriculum, then let me know, and I will I'll do a video about that specific book or curriculum. And if you have any questions about how we're homeschooling, or just any questions just at all, just leave them in the comments. So I hope you'll have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see y'all next time. Bye.